Hey everyone, it's Mike Jones of First Level Firearms Training coming to you from my classroom. And I just wanted to do this quick video because inevitably, whenever I have students sign up, particularly for my basic pistol class and sometimes for my concealed carry class, I get students that will bring a gun to the class, no ammunition, of course. They'll bring a gun to the class and they'll say, "Hey, is this a good gun?" And I have to tell them that, well, you bought the gun, it's your gun, so you're gonna have to make it a good gun at this point because you're not gonna get much on a trade-in when you try to buy another gun. So you're gonna have to make it work for you. So on a side note, that's why when you want to sign up for a basic pistol course, it's almost better if you don't have a gun, because at least in my course, I'm going to show you things to consider when you're going to buy a gun. One of the biggest things I believe is a factor in determining if a gun is good for you is hand size. One of the biggest things I tell my students is that choosing a handgun, here is a rule of thumb that you should always be aware of. So first this is my SIG 229 Legion. We're going to confirm that it is unloaded. Hard to see in there, I know, but nothing is in the chamber. And you can see through the mag well, okay? There's no magazine present. So the biggest thing in general, rule of thumb to consider, is that when you grip the firearm with your dominant hand, your shooting hand, first of all, your thenar muscle, they call that the thenar muscle. I looked that up myself. It should be able to grip, you get a good grip so that you are hugging right underneath the tang. There's no space, that you're right underneath that tang, and that when the gun is in battery, your index finger should fall somewhere beneath or be able to touch the ejection port or the action right there. All right, because that's where you want your finger to be indexing when you are not shooting your firearm. Now, with the one hand, you should be able to manipulate all of the important parts of the firearm. So what am I talking about? So this is a double single action hammer fired gun. So you should be able to manipulate the magazine release. You should be able to manipulate the slide lock. You should be able to manipulate the decocker, and that's why I mentioned that this is a double single, because it has a decocker on it. You should be able to engage the hammer without having to use your non-dominant hand. Reason being is that if this hand is out of commission, there's a cast on it, or I get hit in this hand and I can't use it, I got to be able to work the gun with the one hand, with my dominant hand, right? So that's one of the easiest ways to determine, in general, there are no hard and fast rules. That's one of the easiest ways to be able to determine if a gun suits your grip and is the right size for your grip. Now, the takedown lever, that is not a consideration for whether or not you can operate, whether or not a gun is good for your grip. You're not going to be operating the takedown lever when you're under combat. All right, this is something that you're going to do at home or when you're ready to clean the gun, and that's not going to be while you're carrying it or while you're at the range. So again, the magazine release, decocker on guns that have a decocker, that's going to be your hammer fire typically, double action, single action, slide lock, and the hammer. Now, it's not uncommon, I see it all the time. Now see, my grip is good, works well with this gun. I love this gun. Sometimes you may have to slightly make an adjustment on this grip to be able to get to the magazine release. So there's nothing necessarily wrong with having to move the gun in your hand. Now you're pointing a little bit off, but if you're doing a magazine change or you're doing an administrative reload or you're topping off, you're probably, if you're in combat, you're probably you'll definitely want to go for cover to do this. You're not going to do this while you're standing there, and you're not really concerned about if you're pointing right at your target when you're under fire and you have to change your magazine. You're going to come into your workspace to begin with, but in general, I don't want to go down get into the weeds with that. But it's okay to grip the gun slightly differently. Now see, I'm rotating my hand so that I'm wrapping around a little bit to the rear and giving extension to my thumb. And now, with that slight little angle on the gun, I can now operate the magazine release, okay? Then you want to get that grip back. Hopefully you've practiced your grip so often and so much that you can get right back to that grip and get back into the fight. This also applies if you have a gun that has a safety on it. We're going to check that, make sure that gun is unloaded and there's no magazine in the magwell. So again, I can operate. Now this gun is a little bit more difficult for me, but I'm not going to carry a gun this size. The 1911 it is too big of a gun for me to carry. I do know people that do carry it, but now we got a safety involved. We got the hammer as well, but we've got a safety involved. There's no reason that I should not be able to manipulate the safety with the strong hand, my shooting hand. At no point should I have to engage my non-dominant hand. So that's the magazine release and now safety. No decocker on this gun, but again, all those parts are important to be able to manipulate with your dominant hand only. Now, this is a Desert Eagle, okay? This is a huge gun, okay? First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna check to make sure it is unloaded, and I'm not pointing I'm pointing in a safe direction. There's no one back there, no one over here. I'm in the classroom alone, and there's no magazine in the magwell. Let's see if I can. Yeah, okay, there you go. All right, now this gun is huge. I can barely operate the safety on this gun. I can't get to the magazine release on this gun with my strong hand, with my dominant hand. I can't really manipulate the hammer here. That means this is not a gun that I would ever consider concealed carrying for obvious reasons, but also because I cannot manipulate the gun the way I should be able to, and it is heavy. I just bought this gun for fun. I shoot this gun maybe 10 times, and then my wrists say, that's enough, put it down. So this is just for fun to show off at the range. So these are the things that you should consider when you're thinking about what firearm works best for you. I even have a hard time locking the slide back to the rear. So yeah, again, make sure that you can, wow, and after picking up that Desert Eagle, this thing seems really light, but you want to be able to manipulate all the important parts with just your dominant hand. That's just a rule of thumb. And what I would say to you is, when you're shopping for your first firearm, or shopping for a firearm, period, go to a range that rents firearms. They typically will charge you anywhere from $10 to $15 per firearm to go and shoot in the range. Check it out. See if you like it. See if it suits your grip, okay? If you have a friend who's into guns, or you know someone who's an instructor who's a friend of yours, or even if an instructor is going to charge you for an hour, let's say, it may be well worth it to go to the range and rent a gun with someone who knows what they're talking about. And as a rule of thumb, most of the ranges that I'm familiar with, if you do go there and you want to rent a gun, they will not rent a gun to people who walk in by themselves for liability. A lot of people have tried to do some pretty bad things to themselves going to a range by themselves. So make sure you go with a friend. Make sure you go with someone who knows what they're talking about, who can help you. And shoot as many guns as you can afford to. That's probably the best way to determine if a gun's going to work for you. Get it in your hand. Make sure you can, like I keep saying, manipulate those parts. Make sure it feels comfortable for you. Make sure you can handle that recoil, okay? So just some very, very basic things to think about when you're purchasing a handgun. I teach all of this in my basic handgun class. I also teach it in my concealed carry class. Although, if you're taking a concealed carry class, I would hope that you've already chosen a firearm and you have trained with it somewhat and you are comfortable with it. But All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. How to shop for a firearm, things that you consider for a firearm, and while you're buying that firearm and while you're training with that firearm, if you want to think about how do you protect your finances and how do you protect your livelihood if you have to use that firearm or another legally possessed weapon in a lethal fashion, let me know. I'm happy to talk to you about USCCA, the United States Concealed Carry Association. They are there to help safe, responsible, and legal gun owners who believe in defending themselves. All right, so that's all I've got for today. Have a great day, everyone, and stay safe.